I am a huge James Bond fan, and I have been for most of my life. Even if you don't care about James Bond at all, if you're a 90s kid like me, or you've been on TikTok in the last 2 years, you've definitely heard this sound. Do you hear that beautiful, magical, mystical sound that kind of sounds like a pipe drenched in reverb being struck with a mallet or something? Today, we're going to figure out what on earth that sound is, and we're going to recreate this amazing and kind of elusive sound that was all over the Goldeneye video game and all over the Goldeneye movie soundtrack. So like I said, I've been a fan of James Bond since I was a tiny little kid, but it wasn't until I saw this video recently that made me decide I'm gonna figure out what that sound is.
There it is. There's the sound. The Goldeneye sound. What even is that? It's gotta be like a pipe off in the distance, really echoey, like banging a pipe and then dropping the pitch of it or something. I don't even know.
Now I'm doing this not just because I personally love the sound, but like Charles says in that video, when I listened to it, I couldn't even figure out what on earth I would even do to create that sound. It was a total mystery. So to solve that mystery, I did what anybody in 2023 would do, and I went to YouTube and typed in Goldeneye sound to try and solve the mystery. And I actually did. I found this video and it kind of solved the mystery.
It's called Infinite from an Emu Proteus FX. It's actually either a splash cymbal or tambourine pitched really low.
TLDR of that video, Eric Serra, the guy, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce his name, but he's the guy that composed all the music for the Goldeneye soundtrack. He responded to a tweet and he basically said the sound is a sample of a tambourine that he had. The sample was in like this rack mount vintage drum machine like rack mount unit thing. And the important part is the sample he had in this rack mount unit was pitched down a ton. And that was kind of how he made this sound. And then the rest of that video goes into a deep dive of how to actually try to extract the samples from the game. But that's not what I want to do. I actually want to try to recreate this sound. So there's a couple ways we're going to try and recreate this sound. One, I have a bunch of samples of different tambourines on my hard drive. We're going to grab a sample of one of those tambourines. We're going to pitch it down a bunch and see what happens. And then two, I own a bunch of real tambourines and microphones. So I'm going to hit a tambourine and record it and then pitch that down and see how that sounds. All right, so we're over at the computer and I have Ableton pulled up, and here's what we have here. So we have a bunch of different tambourine samples from kind of all over my hard drive. These first few are ones that are just samples I have out of different libraries I've purchased. And then this last one here is actually one of me recording a tambourine. So here's how all those sound. Bunch of tambourines. And then what we have here is the reference. I actually used Isotope RX and I kind of ripped the tambourine sample out of the original recording. It sounds like this. So we have that for reference so we can try to get kind of close here. And then in this last lane here, Ableton has this cool thing called Simpler, which is a sampler where you can just throw in a sample and then kind of play it as a synthesizer. So I can throw in a tambourine sample, and then over here with the MIDI, I have a MIDI note programmed that will kind of play whatever the sample is. And as we change the pitch of this MIDI note, it will change the pitch of the sample. So if I go back to Simpler, I can take this first sample, drag it into Simpler. We see it's tambourine 1. And now when I hit play, if I solo our tambourine, okay, that sounds too low. And again, the sample we're working off of sounds like this. And when we put it in Simpler and drop the pitch, it sounds like this. That kind of sounds like the reference. There's something tonally just not quite right. So let's try a different sample. Let's take sample number 2, drag it in. Now you can see it's tambourine 2 here. Let's go back to our MIDI note. Okay. Okay, number 2 is closer, but I don't know if it's it. Let's try sample number 3. We have sample number 3 loaded in. Again, there's something just like tone timbre wise that's not right about that. Let's try sample number 4. Ooh, this one's much lower. Gotta raise it up a little bit. And again, right now, I'm not actually looking to do a bunch of EQ and reverb and a bunch of stuff that'll make it sound a little bit closer. I'm literally just taking the sample and then pitching it down a ton and trying to get as close as I can just right out of the box. And that's not doing it for me. Let's try number 5. Sounds maybe like it might be closer when we drop it. Sample number 6. Okay, sample number 7. It sounds like the rest of them. So, okay, let's try the sample that I took. Again, the sample I took sounds like this. So let's load that in there, which a lot of these other samples are kind of electronic-y sounding, and mine is a very much, it's me hitting a tambourine with a stick. So let's see how that sounds. I think I kind of like mine the best. It's got the most, I feel like the original sample has like an explosive thing right at the front, but then it's got all the stuff and whatever, like the reverby kind of when you slow something down, what happens there, the underwater thing. So I think I kind of like my sample the best. Here's the original. And here's the sample I took just by hitting a stick against a tambourine. If I can find the right pitch and stuff, I think we're pretty close. So now that we know the experiment works, I had to put it to use. By the way, if you're liking this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment below if you have questions or thoughts or want to see something else kind of like this, recreating stuff in the future. But like, comment, subscribe, it really helps the channel.